True North Reviews, True North Reviews, True North Reviews.
Hey there, welcome to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the 21 Pilots album, Scaled and Icy. This is the latest full-length from Ohio music duo Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn. Much of their back catalog over the years has been brimming with themes of religion and mental health, typically masked by what is a happier sound. Yes, they've had their one-off spookier tracks with Heathens, but I would argue it wasn't until Trench that the group's darker and brooding lyrics were actually reflected in the sonic experience of an entire album. Of course, hardcore fans can have a field day with the lore that is Dima and Clancy and the Bishops, yada yada yada. I'm not going to speak much towards that, because musically is what I am most concerned with for this latest entry into the TOP discography, and really that is the biggest and most notable change here heading into Scaled and Icy. This project diverges from that harder rock and alternative sound that was on Trench and is instead opting for full-out pop. And immediately that's not a cause for concern. After all, 21 Pilots, they've rarely put up a facade in the past to be something that they're not. Granted, there may be an occasional disconnect between the overall sound and tone of their lyrical messages, but TOP have always remained a genuine group, at least in my book. Beyond genuine, they just know how to write great songs, the opener on this project being no exception. Good Day is just straight Mr. Blue Sky vibes. Sun is shining, birds are chirping, we have a bright and happy piano pop song with a peppy beat and cheerful horns. I also appreciate the lyrics on this track as they speak towards tricking yourself into thinking it's a good day when it's really not. It's essentially the initial denial that Tyler would have if Josh left the band, his loved ones abandon him, and somehow the world is still going on, still turning. The album then transitions to Choker, which is about as mechanical as it gets, with what sounds like a sequenced drum pattern and copy and pasted verses. Don't get me wrong, the track grew on me after first hearing it, but it's just hit a peak and it's starting to fade on me in terms of excitement. It's pretty dull. And this mechanical idea I bring up on Choker, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise actually. Many could have predicted this after the pandemic single Level of Concern was released, which this track had Josh mailing in his contributions on a USB drive. It did feel like he was kind of left out of the writing, recording, and mastering processes. Not that he's ever been the guy to lead those tasks, but still. Thankfully, a less rigid track promoted this album, and it maintains that valuable chemistry between Josh and Tyler. The title of the cut being Shy Away, this of course is the lead single for Scaled and Icy. I think it's very light, easygoing, a blissful tune. I appreciate the layers of guitars and synthesizers. The dynamics smoothly escalate for its chorus, a catchy little hook in there, and overall Shy Away is a fun alt-pop song. Can't really say the same for The Outside because I start to scratch my head when Tyler is singing about vibes and people wanting to steal them from him. And look, I get that it's some sort of attempt to fit in with a modern crowd, but he just sounds like he's more out of touch than anything else. The only saving grace going for The Outside, I would say, is its beat and just how it's produced with that thick and loud bass, and heck, even the bass line itself can stick in your head. Redeeming the small speed bump there, or whatever you want to call it, not much of one, is the track Saturday, a true pop song for the radio. Honestly, you might be convinced that Tyler and Josh are selling out with a song like this. I promise you though, if you brush aside its lyrics, which believe me are asinine, going off on tangents about floating circles and fish bowls, putting on dancing shoes, and wanting to watch Friends. Brush that aside though, the production and melody on Saturday steal the spotlight. I think those elements are at the forefront. Another highlight on Scaled and Icy, in my opinion, is Never Take It, the closest we get to an alt-rock song on the project. It is a track that's about turning a blind eye to media in order to learn guitar. Of course, Tyler, he has to show off his new skills on the instrument with a bunch of licks and a solo during the outro, and while it might not be the most virtuosic performance in the world, it is still great to hear Tyler playing and screaming his vocal lines a bit more, something that has been missing in TOP's music since Vessel or Blurry Face. Feeding right back into the pop songwriting of this record, Mulberry Street is a slice of Billy Joel 80s style songwriting, another favorite of mine with its keyboards that are infectious to the infinite degree. Unfortunately, the other 80s pop style tracks on this album, yeah, they don't get equal treatment in terms of their quality. Formidable, for example, is a bland and boring excuse for an 80s guitar tone with as generic of a chord progression as they come. After all, it makes sense that this is one of the first songs Tyler has written on guitar after literally just learning to play the instrument. But in comparison, there is a far worse track in my mind. It is Bounce Man. It doesn't even have anything to do with the guitar this time. Truly horrid. I'm convinced this is the worst T.O.P. song in existence. You'd be hard-pressed to find anything worse. And I hate to make this comparison, but it's on an AJR level of pure torture. It just sounds like Tyler is writing a love letter to them, and it's just not up to T.O.P.'s standards. There is a small rebound at the end of this project, though. No chances. It has a sinister beat. It starts great with those pitch-shifted vocals. We come for you. The track sounds like a more atmospheric and harder-hitting Blurry Face. Even the record's closing track, Redecorate, has its moments. It essentially bookends the narrative of isolation and the impacts of death on your loved ones. The track asks, do we redecorate a person's room after they die, or do we leave it the same? And regardless of the age of the person on Redecorate, this is by far the most powerful messaging on the record, in my opinion, the most thought-provoking and profound. That's a change of pace for the rest of Scaled and Icy, though, which is more often than not mindless with its lyrics. It's usually unapologetically mainstream. And if we're looking at T.O.P.'s most recent output, Scaled and Icy is simply not living up to Trench or Vessel, in my opinion. That said, it's still landing somewhere between there and Blurry Face. I don't think Scaled and Icy ever hits rock bottom quite like Blurry Face did, but by no means is Scaled and Icy as complex as their most recent work. Sometimes the simplicity is there, sometimes the pop works out. I just sincerely hope this isn't the new sound for the foreseeable future with 21 Pilots, because I'm starting to get a sinking feeling in my gut that they're going to follow suit and do what Panic at the Disco has done at this point. Anyways, I'm rambling now. I think the score I want to give Scaled and Icy, it's favorable, it's positive. Only a handful of hiccups in the track list, just one really bad song as well, but I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on this project. Give it a listen, cherry pick a few songs and see what you get out of it. That's my best advice. And there you have it. There's the album review for today. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comments. Tell me what you guys think of this music, whether you agree, disagree. I'm here to engage with you guys. If you'd like to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. I'd appreciate that. As always, thanks for watching, and have a rockin' day.